Then we probably should grab you a stand real quick.
Okay.
Do you want to run to my studio? There's an extra one in there?
Sure.
Okay.
So then when you come up with a plan for that diction thing,
Yeah.
I don't think that $10 is too little. I will pay you 20 for half an hour.
Are you sure?
Yes, I do.
All right. Well, but for real, the first
I don't know
time...
how much it costs, but I hope 20 is not offensive.
I said 10.
No,
I want to help you,
look,
and I don't really...
Look, it's not the minimum wage, but I just want to have like specific. Now, I will be available to meet sometime over the summer too.
Okay, yeah, me too. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Once a week, once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's probably a good time too when it's a little settled. And
Yeah, I don't know if
come
it's a
up with
good
some
time.
stuff
We'll
for
see
you.
how it goes, but
Yeah.
and I'm not a very gifted student in that department.
All right, it's yours. If you want to get all nice and settled, I'll get this started.
Where would you like me to stand?
In the crook of the piano, like it's performance class or recital. Probably here. I'll help you with the stand there. And obviously, you don't want to be reading if you don't have to. And if we can go without, then we can go without. But you'll stand in the crook of the piano. We probably want this somewhere here-ish. You can look straight at it, or if it's off to the side, but have it high enough that you're not looking down would be great. Yeah. So, Brittany, what we'll do is we'll start. We'll sing it once. We'll go through both of the Tambaya. What I was thinking of doing for today, unless if you have something, do you have something specific in mind? No. We're just going to see how it goes, right? Yeah. I thought we would continue a little bit of some of the work we did yesterday. Okay. How would you sum up what we were thinking of yesterday?
I guess keeping the spine as one whole unit, separate from the bottom half of your body, our bodies.
Yeah, they're connected and interrelate, right? But it's more that there isn't that disconnection of...
Right in the middle of the spine.
Right, where that waist is, but rather we have the torso as an entire torso, right? Okay, let's try it out. Oscar.
Like in my lower back and my neck,
Yeah, right. So let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff we were hitting on yesterday. So probably a couple more images to go along, as well as some different movement things we're going to try. Ultimately, you know, this will go a little faster.
Yes.
Right? It goes faster. You need to just on the musical side of things watch these grace notes.
Yep.
Yeah, the intervals, the descending intervals are better today than yesterday, but the grace notes aren't accurate right now. Okay. As well as every time you say d'accordo, careful that we don't end up with d'accordo.
Okay.
I'm getting an R that comes in sometimes, an onyor.
Okay.
Yeah, so d'accordo. Say that.
D'accordo.
Correct, right? So you're going to really pay attention to your tongue when you say nyor.
Okay.
Is the tip of it heading there a little sooner and flipping for an R or not?
Okay.
Clearly we want it not
Yeah.
to, right? Okay, good. So can I show you a little video I was thinking of for you? We talked quite a bit about the torso and the spine, its full length, its size. When you think of the spine, Brittany, what are some of the features that you think of when you picture it for yourself? How would you describe a spine to someone that knows nothing about a spine?
I think at first I would say like the length, it starts here and goes here, which is more than most people think.
Yeah.
And that it's curved. The most curved part of it comes to like the center view.
Okay. It's forward part of the curve.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's not so much that you can feel it in your back, but that's more of just like protective pieces than what helps you move and all that sort of thing. And there's like cartilage between the discs, and that's what allows you to be flexible.
Awesome. So let's just look at Fred for a second. Revisit and just confirm a lot of what you said, refine maybe a little bit of it.
Okay.
But you're absolutely right in terms of the curves of the spine. Notice that we have the cervical spine, the neck. That's pretty central, isn't it? Yeah, then there's 7 top vertebrae are the neck itself, and they're pretty much dead center in your neck, in your body. Now, as you come back, the next 12 curve back a little bit, those thoracic vertebrae. Why do they do that?
Make room for your lungs and heart.
Exactly, there's stuff in there, right? So that's the reason why your ribs joint in between each of those thoracic vertebrae, so that when they swing up and out, we have that gathering of that spine, so that's why that happens. I think you described that, if I recall. No, we've talked about that. And then the last 5 vertebrae, the biggest vertebrae, those lumbar vertebrae, as you said, again come back to the center of your body. So that's excellent. This is the portion, as you, I believe, mentioned, that is what is responsible for bearing and distributing your weight. That's the support structure. Awesome, you mentioned those cushioning discs. It's like shock absorbers, right? So that when you have that gathering, as soon as the inhalation is done, you start exhaling, we're going to have that springing back to the full height of the spine. Now, this back portion, this is the teeny bit of refining that I want to provide for you. You're right, you said protection, I think. Yeah, you're right, for the spinal cord, right? That's housed inside of there. But this is not the portion that holds you upright.
Right.
Yeah, right, and that's one of the major things that you and I have been mapping and kind of checking in on as phrases continue. Is there a little bit of that holding ourselves up from the back, or are we still trusting that you're supported from here? Okay? But I do want to say that muscles attached to the spiny parts, which means it helps us move. Yeah, so it does have a role in that as well. Okay, good. So I just wanted to look at that. I also noticed that other structures meet the spine. Skull balances on top, sacrum on the bottom, which leads to the pelvis for weight delivery, either sitting or standing. Awesome. So with that teeny refresher, let's check out this whole anatomical middle thing we were kind of hitting on lightly yesterday. Somewhere around here. Choose these portions for you. this is what I want to point out to you, is that sometimes as you're singing, we've noticed, say in Isiba as well, right? That little bit of this, where we're lifting up from that, where she was pointing to that line here as though that's the anatomical middle of you.
Right.
We want instead to lower that anatomical middle. Notice where that line is right there. What joint is located there? Yeah, bingo. That's right, man. And those hips are side facing, right? So if you just take for a moment, yeah, move your leg around, kind of get a sense of where those hip joints are. Squat for a second. Yeah. But that's the actual middle of you. Does that make sense? And we want to see that we're allowing that whole spine to stay as a unit so that all of it can gather and all of it can lengthen. If you separate off for a sec, try that. Right? Pull away. You can sense we're not going to have that springy resilience available to us anymore. So let's try a couple fun and weird things to do. I brought this just for you today. A little exercise ball. What I'd like you to do is you're going to sit on the ball, and you're going to notice that as you're sitting, where the hip joints, we're bending at that hip joint, right? And you can even experiment with moving from the legs to really sense where that joint is. These shoes are very slippery. And what I want you to do as you sing, you're going to do some circles. You're still organized around that middle, but you can also just explore how much movement is possible in the hip joint itself. Sound good? So first, go ahead and take a seat. You have better shoes than I do for that. And you can just, your legs don't have to be together, but comfortably wide. Good. Go ahead and move at the hip joint. Yeah, so kind of swinging your legs in and out a little bit like I did. Yeah, you can keep even the foot on the floor and just kind of windshield wiper it. Good. There you go. You sense where that joint is on the side then? Excellent. Blow your air out. Release. Good. Now do the same thing we're going to do. Nice. So you're letting yourself move from the hip joint. How about some little swivels? Good. Air out while you're swiveling. Good. Release. Anything interesting, or do you notice anything?
Well, it's more while I'm moving, I guess I feel my breath less in, like, around my hips, I guess, than
Okay.
I did. I felt like it was, like, all sort of really settling, which isn't bad, I guess, but I felt like it was really settling down lower.
Before or now?
Before.
Okay.
And now I feel like it's more, I like my waist more evenly distributed, I guess,
Okay.
than before.
Yeah. So try now, give yourself some good little hula circles there, right? That whole spine still with you. Now that I liked. To me, Brittany, do you feel anything in the pelvic floor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Describe it.
I guess the easiest thing to say is that I can feel it like going down into the ball. Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to say it, and I can feel it like being pressed on, I guess.
Right. Without you having to push it down, it's kind of like, oh, there it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Do it again. Yeah, when you release through that inhale. Yeah, and how absolutely ridiculous can you be with that hula? There's more probably motion. Yay, that's possible. While swiveling, we're not going for accuracy. I just want to see if you can enjoy the movement that's possible with the hip joints so that Brittany every release has that pelvic floor involved. Okay? Let's try it out. What do you notice, if anything?
I definitely did less up here when I was breathing, like on inhale. I felt it more lower down, like in my, sort of around by my stomach with my pelvic floor and stuff than I did like in my chest.
Yeah, I mean, there's still movement there, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of activity down here.
Right,
Now,
I didn't feel like I was like just filling up here. It felt
love it. So of course that's all your guts getting squished out of the way that pelvic floor will give then as a result. Were there moments for anyone who was easier to swivel than others?
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I definitely noticed. I was just trying to remember what it was.
You want to try again?
Sure.
Yeah, so as you begin, start swiveling before you even sing, just to kind of establish how much motion is possible so that when you breathe, that can give, okay? Here we go.
I noticed that I like slowed down or it was a little bit more difficult to keep spinning at the very beginning of the phrases.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent, ma'am. I'm so glad you're tuning in and noticing and feeling those differences. Why? What do you think comes in to get in the way of that?
Well, I was like kind of straightening out. So then it was like I had less that I could move, but with my back being like all straight and stuff.
There you go. Here, stand for 1 second. Check this out. Fred, we're sitting on the ball. This is going to be tough, but you get the idea. So you're sitting on your sitting bones here, all right? These sits bones. It's kind of tricky to feel on a ball necessarily, but you felt that we've done that on a hard, flat surface before. And if he's going to be rotating around, we're still maintaining this relationship, which a little bit is getting a little held stiff back here. Okay? So if as you're rotating, go ahead, take a seat again. You're messing around with that. It's not about perfection. It's not about getting the right words even right now. Okay? Say that for your lesson. Right now, it's all about, hey, what am I noticing? Can I allow that whole spine to come with me and be in the center as even up here, this whole portion of the spine is going to react to the movement of the lumbar spine. Yeah? So it's one whole group. Good for you. One more time. Let's try it.
Well, it was definitely harder like this than it was when I was like leaning forward. I don't know. Like I feel too straight.
Okay.
Kind of. Like I feel like my shoulders are really far pressed back.
I wonder if we can have the same, a little bit further, letting the center of gravity be further back. If we can have that happen without the shoulders having to hold you there. Does that make sense? Because what was really cool is suddenly, as we weren't kind of straightening forward and tensing back here, intonation was better. It really was. So that, to me, to my mind, had that better organization around the middle. Let's try this. Let's lose the ball for a sec. Do a little bit of what we did yesterday, because this was kind of a fun way to find it as well. We're going to do our famous squatting stuff. Lose the ball. So go ahead and squat, and have your feet wide enough apart, Brittany, that if you can even have your heels on the ground, or as kind of close as possible, that it's no one behind us. We're good. It's just us ladies. So go ahead, blow your air, and as you're doing this, notice too. Watch my spine. See how I'm still pretty vertical. That if I stood up, I'm upright. Yeah, better. Yay! There you go. Exactly. Isn't that kind of cool? What do you feel?
Feel tall. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll like that. Let's blow your air out, release, and say, hear that amount of sound? That is awesome. Do that again. Better, better. I think even when you sighed, that was even more, maybe slightly more around the middle.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah, little there is where we ended up. I like that. Now it's going to be ridiculous, but let's go there. Singing from the beginning with this kind of more, I'm going to use your word, tall, balance, and see what happens. Here we go. Keep going, because why not? We're a little late. Tell me what you noticed, my dear.
Well, it was definitely better when I was getting, like before, when I was getting to the end of the phrases. Like, I was getting super, super tense. It was probably making me lose air faster.
Uh-huh.
But it was easier to not do that, and it hurt less, like, in between my shoulders.
Back here, there was
Yeah.
much less of that,
Mhm.
this stuff. And so for me and maybe this isn't 100% of what is behind it, but again, I've just been watching over the past couple weeks
Mhm.
quite a bit of that. Now, when you're squatting in that way that, as you said, feels tall, to me that's really organized around the vertebrae, okay? Rather than holding yourself up from back here, even
Right.
leaning forward, you tend to kind of
Yeah.
be stiff back here. So you're organized around that middle, and guess what happens during those phrases then?
Mhm.
For this one, do you sense that as the
Yeah.
phrases are finishing, you lengthen rather than
Mhm.
compress?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So now the other awesome thing that came from that is about at least a doubling of the sound
Mhm.
and the intonation wildly improved.
Okay.
Wildly improved. So now the question is how can you sense that same organization around the center, same ease that ends up happening in the back, that no longer do these muscles have to activate or help you as a phrase is finishing. Rather, you can call upon that lengthening. Can you find that same relationship for your hips, whole spine, as you stand up? What do you think? Let's say it first. Say, nice, nice. It's different than where we started earlier in the lesson, okay? So still around that center, you're easy back here. You get the same spring. Let's sing it that way. Pause for a second because you made a cool adjustment there. What was different about those little hip circles at the beginning versus the second phrase?
I bent my knees more, so then they were
Knees
able
were
to
easy.
be like freer, I guess.
Yeah. One thing I saw then is once you made that adjustment with the knees, if the knees are locked, you end up with this kind of unit with these two joints that were
Yeah.
kind of yeah. When the knees are easy, they each can move in their own unique way, at their own unique moment.
Okay.
Man, that was cool when that happened. So let's say during those bump bump, bump at the beginning. Volta, rather than right?
Okay.
Just set it. I'm already moving. Breath's already been released. I just join in.
Okay.
There's more time than you think there. One more time. That's okay. Separate the spine from the hips again. What do you notice?
Well, it's definitely better, like in my lower back, especially. Like I don't bring it forward. I think then, with trying to keep it that way, I make sure that I don't tense my neck.
Right. And that again, I think for what might be interesting to explore for you is making sure that as you're singing all of those phrases, are you aware of that freedom top to bottom? Therefore, you're also aware of all the external musculature in the back and the front, all around that torso, so that it will end up being segmented off more frequently, right? Then my lower back does one thing and suddenly, oh gosh, what did my neck just do?
Right.
You're thinking about all of that as one unit, therefore you're able to find the easy found in the lower back, in the upper spine and the neck as well, simply because you have that organization top to bottom in mind. Does that make sense, that
Yeah.
picture? Now, one last thing I just want to ask you, in terms of these hip joints, I think this is important for us to continue to map those a little bit more in detail, which we can do probably, well, I guess we still have some work to do before juries, but we'll find time to look at some of the pictures and figure out exactly how that joint comes together, how it works.
Okay.
Even though today we started exploring kind of where it is and
Yeah.
the movement that's possible there. How do you relate your hips then to everything we talked about today?
Well, the thing I think of first, I guess, is remembering that it's like this is up here, and this starts the lower half. So even if my hips are moving, I don't have to worry about, like, my lower back doesn't have to, like, I feel like naturally it goes with it.
There's
but I
a
have to
little.
remember that, like, my upper back does not necessarily have to do what my hips do. I guess.
I love that these joints can move independently, just like I can use my hand doing something on its own while my breath is doing one thing, something different. Same thing is true. My hip joints can be doing something totally unrelated to what my upper torso is doing. Ultimately, the movements do interrelate,
Right.
but it's mostly that, can they both move freely? If the answer is yes, you're going to be nicely coordinated, okay? Also, I think that this whole hip joint freedom thing, pelvic floor, man, is that going to do a lot for that Oscar energy we talked about, that little boy energy that lives a little lower.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
excellent. So, does that give you some fun things to work on? I liked especially for you this guy.
Yep.
That really helped you. I think you can sense if you're coming forward
Yeah.
versus am I still tall and around the middle. That's really successful for you.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
All right, thank you, my dear.
Yes. Would you like me to put this back, the stand, or keep it?
Actually, if you could put it back, because I have a lesson in there soon. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank